Benjamin Franklin was drowning in experiments. He deciphered the code of youth, but we don't use it. Think, for a moment, of a young man drifting along the streets of Philadelphia, dusty from a day's labors in a print shop, his mind already hatching brand new ideas about electricity, civic improvement, and personal reform. That man, of course, is Benjamin Franklin, the printer's apprentice turned inventor, philosopher, statesman, and, some might say, accidental health sage. Now imagine the year is 1740. The colonial city is alive with the hum of commerce and horse-drawn wagons, yet overshadowed by frequent outbreaks of disease, from smallpox to yellow fever. It is a time when a mild infection could escalate to a life-threatening condition within days, cutting short the promise of youth. Franklin, as we know him, was not content to accept such cruel limitations. Instead, rumor has it that he devoted countless hours. People say he was drowning in experiments to crack some elusive formula for preserving vitality and staving off the degenerative processes of aging. By the end of his quest, or so the story goes, he had isolated a core set of principles, like lines of code embedded into daily life, that effectively unlocked a youthful function in the body long after most colonial folk had begun to wither. Yet, ironically, we in modern times, with our advanced medicine and technology, hardly tap into these guidelines. Indeed, the rumor suggests that Franklin left us a simple blueprint, a code of youth, that we choose to overlook, even as we chase complex diets or unproven remedies. If you keep reading until the final words of this massive exploration, you might just rediscover that code in its raw, direct form, and find ways to weave it into your own hectic life. And if you do, perhaps you will join Franklin on that improbable path of living well past the average lifespan of your peers, brimming with the same sharpness that let him master science, politics, and self-betterment in a single lifetime. In the pantheon of founding fathers, Franklin stands out for his insatiable curiosity and near-limitless list of accomplishments. He systematically charted virtues, discovered the link between lightning and electricity, founded the first public lending library in America, drafted the Declaration of Independence, and shaped the Constitution's final form. He was also the oldest signer of that Constitution, living to the impressive age of 84, a near wonder in the late 1700s, when many died decades younger. But behind those public feats lay a man equally consumed by personal experimentation. He systematically tinkered with his schedule, his diet, his moral disciplines, and apparently, if rumor is to be trusted, even the subtle interplay of posture, breath, and reflection. The phrase Benjamin Franklin was drowning in experiments conjures an image of him half buried in notes and diaries, testing out every new idea about sleep patterns, exposure to cold water, or the effect of certain herbs on energy. And among these mountains of self-experimentation, he allegedly discovered an approach, call it a code of youth, that systematically defied the normal ravages of time. Yes, he still aged, but more slowly or gracefully. Aches that crippled peers might only faintly bother him. Epidemics that took neighbors might pass him by. A cynic might chalk it up to good genes, but Franklin himself insisted it was the result of daily discipline, refined over years. So why do we not see an official treatise by Franklin on anti-aging or disease prevention? Possibly because in his day such a notion seemed outlandish. Many recognized basic hygiene or moderate diet, but few believed that methodical daily interventions could meaningfully extend healthy lifespan. Then again, Franklin's approach might have been overshadowed by his political and scientific stardom. Or perhaps he considered such practices too trivial or personal to publish widely, focusing instead on more pressing civic improvements. The rumor suggests, though, that in private diaries or letters, he described the code. Over centuries, those diaries were either lost or merged with other manuscripts, leaving only scattered references to a synergy of practices. We might glean from his moral diary or personal letters how he systematically improved mind and body. That synergy, if you read between the lines, forms a pattern not unlike a code. A daily checklist that reboots the body's vigor, fosters mental elasticity, and wards off disease. One might ask, in an era of modern medicine, what can Franklin's code possibly offer? We have antibiotics, surgeries, advanced scanning machines. Possibly more than you think. Many diseases in Franklin's time were acute infections. Ours now revolve around chronic degenerative conditions, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, certain cancers. But the basic principle remains: consistent daily discipline that fosters immune resilience, stable metabolism, and a calm mind can drastically reduce disease risk. If Franklin's code revolves around mild but consistent physical activity, measured but not extreme fasting or diet control, strategic use of fresh air or mild temperature exposures, plus a commitment to mental equilibrium, then it aligns beautifully with modern longevity science. The question is, do we truly adopt such a code, or do we opt for quick fixes? Let us attempt to reconstruct the rumored code from clues in Franklin's known habits. First, consider his morning routine. We know Franklin advocated early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. That might hint that code element 1. Daily early rising to greet the day calmly, possibly combining mild movement or an air bath. His famous practice of sitting or standing in minimal clothing by an open window, letting cool air envelop him. The synergy of mild cold exposure and morning calm might awaken metabolic pathways. Modern supporters of cold therapy claim it activates brown fat, sharpens mental alertness, and can reduce inflammation. Could Franklin have intuited this centuries before we had the jargon? Possibly. He wrote about feeling invigorated after such sessions, rarely catching colds even in damp, chilly weather. So rung one of his code might be, embrace the morning coolness. Let your body adapt. Do not recoil from mild discomfort. Second, there's a rumored nuance about intermittent or moderate fasting. Franklin, from the diaries we do have, disliked heavy breakfasts. Instead, he often opted for a light meal or sometimes a small chunk of bread or leftover from the previous day, complaining that heavier fare dulled his morning wits. That implies code element 2. Do not overburden your body with large or sugary morning feasts. Keep it minimal or balanced, letting your body ease into the day. This might preserve metabolic flexibility, an idea that modern science sees in intermittent fasting. People who skip or minimize breakfast can, if done wisely, sustain insulin sensitivity longer, staving off the metabolic diseases that plague modern life. Franklin, though lacking the phrase insulin sensitivity, might have deduced from personal experiment that a lighter morning meal equates to sharper productivity and fewer health grumbles. Third, Franklin's moral diaries reveal a sense of daily reflection, planning, and nighttime review, like, what good shall I do today? Or, what good have I done? But beneath the moral dimension is code element 3, a mental calibration that fosters emotional steadiness. Stress or negativity can degrade immune function, as we now know. So each day, a short reflection ensures you do not accumulate mental toxins that feed diseases. By resetting your mind with purposeful positivity or accountability, you remain aligned with your deeper values. That mental clarity might buffer you from the destructive stress responses that, over time, spawn chronic inflammation or heart issues. Fourth, consider the consistent thread of moderate but ongoing physical activity. Franklin walked extensively across Philadelphia, swam in the rivers, and took pride in his physical capabilities. He even performed the occasional demonstration of swimming skill for onlookers in England. That could be code element 4, daily moderate exercise. Not necessarily hitting a modern gym, but sustaining enough movement to keep circulation robust, muscles toned, and mood elevated. This is consistent with the 21st century calls to get 30 minutes of moderate activity daily. So we see how Franklin's code might revolve around small, repeated bursts of bodily engagement, even if just brisk walking to the next block or a short set of calisthenics in his yard. Fifth is a consistent mention of cleanliness or partial self-care. Some references say Franklin bathed or at least wiped down daily, a rarity in an era with no central plumbing. He also believed in changing clothes often, airing out bedding to avoid the pestilences that took hold in stale conditions. This code element 5 might be called environmental purity, minimizing the chance for microbes or toxins to fester in your immediate surroundings. Today, that might translate to tidying your living space, ensuring fresh air, controlling humidity, or frequently cleaning high-contact surfaces. Over centuries, this had to be central to disease prevention. If you think of bedbugs or fleas in 18th century bedding, Removing them is a direct route to better health. Franklin was at the vanguard of this approach. So code element 5 is about environment. Keep it airy, clean, minimal clutter that can harbor disease vectors. Sixth, we suspect he believed in forging strong social bonds. He formed clubs like the Junto, not just for political or business networking but also for intellectual camaraderie. Research shows that social engagement wards off isolation, which in turn reduces stress and fosters mental well-being. Perhaps code element 6 is sustain a circle of supportive, stimulating community. The synergy is that conversation, idea exchange, and mutual encouragement create an uplifting mental environment. If someone in the group spots you falling ill or lapsing in discipline, they might help correct you. Meanwhile, you glean fresh perspectives, fueling your curiosity. This synergy is known today. Robust social ties reduce mortality risk, often credited to lowered cortisol and better emotional health. For Franklin, it was part of daily life, another rung of the code. Seventh might revolve around continuous learning or intellectual curiosity. One can easily see how Franklin's passion for science and invention kept his brain agile. He once said, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest," typically referencing finances, but also referencing personal growth. A mind that daily ingests new concepts fosters neural plasticity, warding off the mental stagnation that can invite depression or dementia. That could be code element 7. If we remain static in thought, diseases of mind and body find a foothold. So every day, read something new, test a small experiment, or keep a notebook of questions. If the rumor is correct, Franklin recognized that the same impetus that drove him to test lightning rods also kept disease at bay, because mental stagnation correlates with physical decline. That synergy of mind-body is typical of how he fused philosophical reflection with pragmatic living. So we see how a pattern emerges. The rumored code of youth might be these integrated daily behaviors, spanning from morning routine to social ties, from mindful minimal eating to consistent movement, from a clean environment to unwavering curiosity. Over time, that synergy fosters a body less prone to typical diseases that ravaged 18th century colonies. Meanwhile, we in the 21st century face different plagues. Stress, screen addiction, processed junk food, but the underlying principle stands firm. If you adapt each rung of that code to your context, you might drastically reduce the risk of obesity, hypertension, immune dysfunction, or mental burnout. Franklin soared to an advanced age for that era, retaining enough vigor to shape a new nation. If that is not testament to his code, what is? Yet the rumor also suggests a bittersweet twist. He deciphered the code of youth, but we don't use it. This implies that modern society, for all our advanced healthcare, neglects these basic daily steps. Instead, we chase complicated regimens or rely on pills to fix issues that might never arise if we adhered to a Franklin-esque routine. Our inertia or cynicism might overshadow the clarity of a simpler approach. It is reminiscent of a child ignoring an older relative's wise words, only to suffer the predictable consequences. So the rumored statement tries to jolt us out of complacency. A founding father, centuries ago, uncovered a path to robust health, yet we remain blind to its genius. In an era where we can read about or watch 1,000 diets in an instant, we ironically skip the fundamental synergy that Franklin championed. If we recognized how pivotal these daily habits are, we might see a revolution in public well-being. That is the heart of the rumor's admonition. Now let me insert the first question for reflection or comment. If you tallied your daily habits, from morning to night, do you see a consistent pattern that fosters well-being? Or is it more scattershot? And do you think adopting Franklin's synergy, fresh air, moderate exercise, mindful diet, intellectual curiosity, and communal engagement would alleviate some of the nagging health issues or mental fatigue you currently face? Continuing, we might note that for Franklin, the code was not purely about personal health but also about moral and civic strength. He believed in personal virtue not as moralistic drudgery but as a framework that lifts the entire community. Similarly, a robust personal health code does not merely keep you from sickness. It might also ripple outward, enabling you to better serve family, neighbors, or society at large. That synergy might be the reason he hammered it so fervently in diaries. A healthy individual stands better equipped to innovate, solve social problems, or lead. The rumor claims that Franklin once confided to a friend that an ailing, frail body is as good as a jail for the mind. Freed from ailments, he soared intellectually and politically. Could we not do the same if we follow his approach, unleashing new energies for whichever pursuits we hold dear? One might question the difference between Franklin's code and standard modern health advice. Likely the major difference is the emphasis on consistent discipline plus moral or intellectual anchors. Modern advice often focuses on external measures, a certain diet ratio, a certain step count. Franklin's rumored code is more holistic, weaving virtue, curiosity, community, and environment with straightforward bodily needs. That synergy can be more motivating than abstract checklists. If you see daily tidying or morning reflection as part of your moral or intellectual identity, you are less likely to skip them than if you see them as chores. That might be the secret sauce. The code fosters a sense of personal mastery and ideological alignment, not just physical health chores. In a world where many of us balk at discipline, that might make all the difference. At this juncture, we might ask, but did Franklin truly dodge all diseases? Not exactly. He did wrestle with gout in later years, apparently from the indulgence in foods or wines at diplomatic functions. This suggests that even he did not always adhere strictly to the code, or he might have discovered it too late. The rumor claims that once he recognized gout was triggered by certain indulgences, he reformed his habits, showing improvement. That further cements the idea that we can slip, but if we revert to the synergy, we might reclaim health. Indeed, gout aside, he evaded the worst of infectious plagues, lived into advanced age, and remained mentally acute right to the end, composing letters, championing reforms, and bantering with younger thinkers. That outcome stands as a living testament to the code's power, even if imperfect by its own creator. Now let me present the second question for reflection or comment. If you tried adopting at least 4 of Franklin's rumored code elements, say, a consistent early wake-up for fresh air, a modest breakfast, daily exercise, and evening reflection, for a span of 2 months, do you predict you'd see a meaningful shift in your overall energy or immune resilience? And which rung do you suspect would be the hardest or easiest to maintain? As we approach the story's culmination, we can attempt to summarize a possible modern adaptation of Franklin's code. Rise early with fresh air. Start your morning by opening a window or stepping outside for a minute, letting that breath of crisp air awaken you. Pair it with a short reflection or gratitude moment. Light, balanced morning intake. Either do a small portion of healthy protein or fruit, or even try a gentle fast if that suits your physiology. The key is not to overload your system at dawn. This fosters stable energy. Daily movement. Insert mild to moderate physical activity throughout the day. If you cannot do a full workout, commit to short walks or a quick set of bodyweight exercises. Consistency trumps intensity. Intellectual engagement. At least once daily, read something enlightening or test a small puzzle. Keep the mind curious and evolving, reminiscent of Franklin's junto discussions or personal reading. This wards off mental stagnation. Social or community connection. Speak with a friend about a constructive idea, help a neighbor with a small task, or join a discussion group. This fosters emotional well-being, stifling the isolation that drains vitality. Cleanliness and order. Keep your space from descending into grime or clutter. Tidy a bit daily. Franklin believed disarray fosters germs and moral laziness. In modern terms, it fosters stress and poor hygiene. Evening reflection. Before bed, quickly recount what you achieved, what you learned, how you can improve. Let your mind settle in positivity or constructive planning, not frantic regrets or screen glows. That bedtime calm can drastically improve sleep quality. By weaving these 7 steps, an adaptation of the rumored code, you replicate the synergy that might rescue you from diseases. Of course, you can refine each rung for your personal constraints. The rumor suggests that if you do this daily, you replicate Franklin's essence, defying the typical disease-laden path so many follow. Over months, you might see fewer colds, better weight control, sharper mental outlook, and a general sense that your body recovers from stress more swiftly. In time, that might help you outlive or outthrive peers who rely solely on chance or reactive medicine. The synergy stands as the rumored secret behind Franklin's resilience. Finally, We circle to the rumor's dramatic line. Benjamin Franklin was drowning in experiments. He deciphered the code of youth, but we don't use it. The tragedy is that modern folks remain entranced by commercial diets, advanced supplements, or short-lived fads while ignoring a simple, integrative approach that has been tested in principle for centuries. The question remains, will you break that pattern, or let Franklin's code vanish again into the dusty corners of historical footnotes? If you decide to act, you might find that the synergy swiftly improves your daily life in ways no pill or single hack can replicate, precisely because it addresses multiple dimensions of health. So let us conclude with a final reflection. Perhaps the best way to honor Franklin's hidden code is to experiment with your day, just as he did. Tinker with your morning routine, your diet, your environment, your mindset. Keep records of how you feel, your energy, your immunity. Over weeks, watch if you inch closer to that intangible state of well-being and prolonged vitality. If you do, then truly you are resurrecting the wisdom that rumor credits to Franklin's diaries. A systematic approach to daily living that can rescue you from diseases. And in doing so, you might discover the same sense of possibility that fueled Franklin's greatest inventions. The knowledge that life, once weighed down by repeated ailments or mental fatigue, can lighten into a realm of steady health, enabling you to chase big dreams, just as the founding fathers soared beyond the limits of colonial life to shape an entire nation's destiny. And so, with that final note, we sign off, leaving you to decide whether you, too, will adopt a piece of this rumored code. You might find that, indeed, something remarkable happens when you unify mind, body, environment, and daily reflection the way Franklin presumably did. Suddenly, diseases that once loomed might find you an unwelcoming host. That synergy is timeless, bridging centuries from the dusty streets of Philadelphia to our digital age. And if it works for you, then Franklin's code truly leaps from rumor to reality, proving that pulling you out of diseases was always more about self-discipline and integrated living than any magic bullet. After all, a mind as practical and inventive as Franklin seldom dealt in illusions. He found real results through real experiments. Perhaps the rumor stands correct. He deciphered the code of youth, and we, in all our modern busyness, seldom bother to apply it. But you can. The choice is yours.